Good morning. Welcome to our worship service on August 16th. We're glad that you could join together with us through the videos today. Again, I'm not certain that there are anything particularly to announce other than we continue to do this mixture of videos and also live worship if you'd like to join us there. But either way, we are simply glad that you can participate with us in worship. Today, as we begin, I want to read a little bit of an extensive part from a book called The Shack Revisited. And it's talking about God. It's talking about Adam and Eve in the garden and what happened to them and what changed between them and God. At the moment of the fall, the author Baxter Kruger says, Satan's chief deception is to invite us to doubt the Lord's goodness, creating insecurity and anxiety in us, which in turn drives us into independent action. All this then is shrewdly woven into the lie that we are separated from the triune God. Adam and Eve believed the whispering doubt about the goodness of the Lord. In the place of trust, love, and security rose doubt and then fear, which inevitably turned them in upon themselves. They became self-referential, in other words, looking only at themselves, and chose independence over relationship with God. They became self-centered, making themselves and their own judgment the point of reference and discernment rather than relationship with the Lord. The very relationship designed to receive the Trinitarian life, the Trinity life in Jesus, became alien to the Blessed Trinity. He goes on, the great disaster of Adam and Eve was not simply that they sinned or were disobedient to a divine rule. The disaster was that in believing the lie of the evil one, they became blind. And by blind, I do not mean they could not see physically. I mean their perception of reality became skewed, so skewed that they could no longer perceive the real truth about God or about themselves. This is when they hid from the Lord. Why? Because they were afraid. But afraid of what? How could Adam and Eve stand in the garden, the recipients of such astonishing blessing and love, and be afraid of the Lord? Had God changed? Had the Lord who created Adam and Eve out of sheer grace and love poured such astounding blessing upon them, suddenly made about face? Had he ceased to love? Surely Adam's disobedience did not alter the being of God. Or perhaps it did, because God did change abruptly and radically, not in reality, of course, but in Adam's mind. Adam projected his own brokenness into God's face. He tarred the Father's face with the brush of his own angst. He took a paintbrush and dipped it in the cesspool of his own double-mindedness and guilt and shame and painted an entirely new picture of God. And with it, and this God created in his own darkened imagination, not the Lord, that he feared and from whom he hid. And he goes on, one other part I want to read to you real quick. He says, this is the problem of evil and sin. The impossible has happened. The truth about the love of the Lord is eclipsed, so eclipsed that it is now inconceivable. A profound blindness has taken over Adam's mind. He cannot see the Father's face. From this moment on, our shame will disfigure the Father's heart. The human race is lost in the most terrible darkness, the darkness of its own fallen mind, the darkness of wrong belief, of unfaithfulness, of anxiety, projection, and misperception. I read all that to begin because we're going to look at a story today about Jesus that if we don't look carefully, we will get a very warped image of Jesus. And we must always remember the goodness, the love, the grace, and the mercy of God, over which love reigns entirely, is the essence of God's character. So as we begin to enter into our worship songs, I want you to listen to a song by Charles Wesley, And Should It Be That We Should Gain.